Hey everyone, thanks for joining me on the first of a series of videos where I cover upgrades and changes made to the Spec-V. I should have one of these out to you guys once a month, so make sure to subscribe if you are interested in seeing more. The very first modification I made was to ditch the stock hood prop and install some hood struts. This kit is from Redline Tuning and is available in a few different kits. Installation requires a drill and a rivet gun. If you're interested, I will leave a link in the description below. Next, we did a little restoration work. The original hood insulator had definitely seen better days, so I went on the hunt for a new one. I thought it had a line on a brand new one from Nissan Parts Deal, but they of course had something listed on their site as available that definitely was not. So I hit the local scrapyards and scored one in decent condition for $6 and attached it with some brand new clips. The window switches on the driver's door were getting a bit tired, and the door lock button just couldn't seem to keep itself together. So I grabbed a brand new Dorman reproduction unit from Rock Auto. Quality seems okay, we'll see how long it lasts. I am definitely hanging on to the original switches just in case. And of course I had to do some basic ignition maintenance, new NGK plugs and Hitachi coil packs. Didn't really notice much difference in how it runs, but this is one of those peace of mind things since I have no idea how many miles were on the other parts. Let's not mention that single coil that is different from the others. My OCD might have to fix that at some point. So when I bought the car, it came with some Lexani tires that would have been fine for daily driving, but we all know that isn't good enough for a canyon car. So the replacement is probably my favorite tire that is good for daily driving and some extra grip on the mountain passes. The Firestone Firehawk Indy 500. Ran multiple sets of these on the Elantra Sport, and in this case they seem to work a bit better as the Sentra weighs a few hundred pounds less. Size is 225/45/17 for now until I can figure out some things. Hard corner loads, the front tires rub where the fender and bumper come together. My solution for that might be adding some camber up front, so I will have to update you guys on that later. Okay, so as you can see with the aftermarket header here, we have one O2 sensor up here just in this one runner. And then there's another one down below there that is after all four of them have come together. Now, I keep getting a check engine light because something's not happy. Even though that lower sensor has defouler extensions on it, it's still throwing a light. And what I have basically come to be curious about is if you look at the OEM manifold here, the first sensor actually goes in after all of the runners have come together in this collector, and then it goes through the cat, and then there's the other sensor. So I think the fact that this sensor here is only in one runner means it's not getting the readings that it's expecting because it's trying to read gases from all four, or it needs to read gases from all four. So that's probably what's throwing the check engine light. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that lower sensor out and I'm going to move it to the mid pipe underneath the car. And then this top sensor right here, I'm going to take it out and put it down where the other sensor is and put a plug in this top sensor. And then that way it's getting a reading from all four exhaust runners coming together. For the lower sensor, what I'm going to have to do, I bought this 4-wire O2 extension, and I'm hoping I can use this to make the wire reach underneath and get to the mid pipe. Alright, so we moved the top sensor to the bottom. I took the plug out of the mid pipe and stuck it where the first sensor was. And then the bottom sensor is now underneath the car in the mid pipe, and then you can see my O2 extension coming up over the top of the transmission and plugs in right down here. We got some zip ties in place to keep everything steady, so let's see if that works. As you can see, it didn't work out. Or did it? Before moving the sensors, I was getting multiple codes as shown here. After they were removed, there's only one single code. This tells me that the car is seeing what it needs to as far as flow goes, but one of the sensors could be bad. Not sure entirely how that works. So I have new sensors waiting to go in, and if this fixes everything, I will be sure to update you in the next video. Now some good stuff. The car came with an aftermarket header, but the rest of the exhaust was stock, and it sounded like a kazoo. I had to fix that ASAP, so after a little research, I decided on a 2J Racing resonated mid-pipe and a Stromung catback. Personally, I love the sound from the driver's seat, but here are some various clips so you can decide for yourself. This car was purchased to be a daily driver as well as a fun corner carver. So in the daily driver spirit, and because I'm getting old, I decided to add some weight to the car and make it quieter inside. At the moment, I have only completed the cabin area, but we'll be going over the doors and trunk as well, and we'll have an update on those in the next video. Here you can see the start of the interior removal, starting with the back seats, and I'll explain a bit more here. Alright, as you can see, I got all the seats out. Got most of the vacuuming done, cleaned up a little bit. I still need to wipe down all the areas in the back here, but we are making solid progress. All these areas in the back here, like this giant hole and this big hole and this big hole that are not needed for anything, are going to be covered up. Same goes for these. They had a foam cover on them, but I removed them because it was only half sticking and wouldn't stay anymore. Same with this hole and this hole. Everything's going to get covered up. So the plan is to cover as much as I can. Alright, so with the panels off, I'm going around the car, and any holes that are unused, like this one, have an X. Those are getting covered up. If it's got a check mark, it's being used by a panel to be attached to the car. So it is staying open. So I'm going through and marking everything with X's and check marks, and anything that has an X is getting covered up. This is the interior roof panel all finished. It doesn't need to cover every square inch, but is enough to keep the areas with no support from vibrating too much on rough roads. And here are some of the unnecessary holes covered above the rear window. This look at the rear parcel shelf shows most of what I put down, but I did add a little bit more later. Along with a look at the floor covering in progress. I didn't get much footage of the floor area, but you get the idea. Cover as much as you can that's not used. And while I had the center console out, I replaced the stock rubber shift bushing with a Delrin unit. Here's the interior going back in after I finished up the floor. While I had everything apart, I scrubbed clean all the panels and vacuumed really good. I also had the front windshield replaced, mainly because it had really bad water spots, making it very hard to see at night. I'm sure someone could have buffed them out, but it was also sand pitted, being an Arizona car, and had a couple good rock hits, so for $300 I just replaced it. Oh, and after he took the old glass out, I had him wait a couple minutes so I could replace the foam strip on the leading edge of the dashboard. Another install while the interior panels were removed was a dash cam. I had originally bought this for the Pathfinder, but decided to put it here instead. It has a 4K front camera and a 1080p rear camera. I'll post a link in the description for anyone interested. Unfortunately, this 12-volt plug doesn't work, so that's on the list to repair. And I couldn't just not replace the speakers while I was in here. Went with some cheap Kenwoods that had good reviews on Amazon. They didn't exactly fit, but with the help of a Dremel, I made them fit. Before putting the C-pillar panels back in, I put some foam rings on the plastic clips, also to reduce any chance of a rattle from the stereo or rough roads. So here's a brief shot at the rear camera and the interior all back in the car. My initial impressions are that there is a noticeable reduction in noise levels. What remains has a cleaner sound to it, less vibration in the cabin from rougher roads, and impacts through the suspension are more of a dull thud than a loud bang. Unfortunately, the cheap decibel meter app I downloaded on my phone said there was zero change in noise levels, but I don't really believe that. So you'll just have to take my word for it. Like I said, I have to finish up the doors and the trunk, so we'll update you on that soon. For now, here's me and my new shifter buddy saying thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.